history, there has been one constant activity that always occurs. Look here. In truth, no one wants war or killing. But development forces humanity to use. Nations always want to conquer more. Invade more colonies to serve the interests of the mother country. In today's era, the Earth seems too crowded. Humanity is increasingly coming together and forming a unified bloc. And as humanity continues to develop, the inevitable will happen. We need new sources of resources. When Earth has nothing left after centuries of exhaustive exploitation, humanity is forced to find another place. Personally, I think there is no place more suitable than this one. We are here today to discuss the future of conquering the moon. But not in the way we have done before. Going to the moon, planting a flag, taking a stroll, and returning cannot be called conquest. Rather, it must be a process of comprehensive control, resource exploitation, and creating a new living environment for humanity. But why do we need to conquer the moon? And how will we do it? All will be answered in the video about lunar colonization. As usual, leave a like and subscribe to the Dark Truth Files channel to support the creators of this video. We will begin the main content right now. I haven't told you one thing. Most actions or decisions must have their reasons. You always need to weigh the benefits against the cost before deciding to take that action. Opportunity cost is something that should never... For something that affects the entire development process of humanity like lunar colonization. Should be convincing reason. What is that reason? Perhaps you and I are witnessing many leaps in human space travel achievements. News like this appears daily, weekly across newspapers and scientific magazines. But don't let that glamour deceive you. Humans are not truly that skilled yet. In the story of space travel, the moon remains the only place beyond Earth with a human footprint. It has been over half a century since the first human set foot there, and we have not returned once. And the total number of people who have been to the moon is not many, only 12. So what have we achieved by setting foot on the moon? The answer is surprising. Not much, really. The moon is not a vast place compared to other planets in the universe. But it will be very large when compared on a human scale. The area of its natural satellite is larger than any continent on Earth, except Asia. Just imagine, how much of a continent would you explore with a team of 12 people? It can be said that most of the remaining parts of the moon are still a mystery. Similarly, it also contains a huge amount of resources inside that we cannot yet reach. According to estimates, the resource treasure on the moon could be worth over $1 billion. Among them, extractable metals are estimated to be worth at least 2.5. Besides rare earths, the moon also has many other minerals including platinum, palladium, rhodium, and titanium. Of course, those things are very expensive, valuable, and contribute greatly to humanity's high-tech industries. But on the moon, there is a resource more precious than all. That is water. Water resources are an extremely precious resource. It is a precious resource of the moon's south pole, worth over $200 billion. And it is the crucial factor in answering the long-term question of whether humans can live on the moon. Earth is gradually running out of space. Technology advances robustly but is constrained by limited resources. Alongside that is the ambition to travel to distant stars in the near future. Those reasons are perhaps enough for humanity to strive to colonize the moon. thereby opening up entirely new living space and serving as a springboard for the mission to conquer space.
The next part of the grand invasion plan is how we will realize it.
Ordinary people like us often find it hard to imagine what the moon is really like.
Most would think of it as a desolate, dusty desert.
With craters everywhere from meteorite impacts and volcanoes. Meteorite craters on the moon come in all sizes, from extremely small to gigantic. The largest ones can swallow an entire country and dwarf Mount Everest.
What does this mean? It certainly holds great significance.
The human factor is always essential for any conquest, even in an unclaimed place. As mentioned, we are not going to the moon to do this.
The goal is to achieve this. We must solve the problem of housing and living environments for humans if we want to colonize the moon.
Giant meteorite craters unintentionally provide an excellent foundation for completing dome shapes. This giant dome will be the future living and research area for humans on the moon.
Inside, we can build an entire zone, even a city with a completely closed ecosystem.
With the advantage of much lower gravity than Earth, these large-scale structures have even more bases for construction. Furthermore, when a large dome on the scale of a city is built, these large-scale structures have even more bases for construction.
Moreover, when a large dome on the scale of a city is built, if unfortunately any part breaks,
the air inside does not escape too quickly, giving humans extra time for repair.
Most importantly, the giant domes will protect our inhabitants from a monster.
A monster that has prevented humanity from returning to the moon for over 50 years. That is lunar dust.
The moon's surface is largely covered by fine-grained material, called lunar soil or lunar dust. Currently, the scientific factors behind this substance are still being researched.
Lunar dust is basically as dangerous as glass, but has a very fine texture, like powder, with a rather mysterious structure. With their ultra-fine size, it poses a deadly threat, as they can adhere extremely firmly to surfaces. But even more dangerous is its terrifying toxicity. Thanks to the Apollo missions, scientists on Earth obtained samples of lunar dust. Through research, scientists discovered that this dust contains compounds that react with humans, accelerating the development of lung cancer. Subsequently, they tested exposure between living cells from contaminated hamsters and humans to a substance similar to living. The results showed that about 90% of mouse brain cells and human lung cells ultimately die. Lunar dust is truly very harmful to humans. Some astronauts reported experiencing symptoms like fever and extreme difficulty breathing after inhaling these dust particles.
The molecular composition of lunar dust can completely kill cells, even cause lung and brain damage, destroying vital organs. Astronauts from the Apollo missions in the 1970s faced lunar dust that was abrasive and sticky, wearing down the outer layer of their spacesuits and dirtying their tools. Dust-covered equipment absorbs sunlight and tends to overheat, leading to malfunctions. Beyond this danger, future astronauts must confront the risk of electrostatic discharge, potentially causing the moon to glow and affecting the brain. Future astronauts must confront the risk of electrostatic discharge, potentially damaging all electronic devices due to lunar dust being charged by Earth's magnetic field. From 2012, the moon's orbit will enter a period passing through regions called plasma tails of the magnetic field, meaning areas rich in high-energy electrons and other charged particles. Therefore, some areas on the moon's surface will become electrostatic. Clearly, protective domes are essential for humanity to have the safest living environment, away from this monster. However, the issue with human shelters does not stop there. The moon's lack of atmosphere is the reason it is attacked by meteorites, leaving large craters.
So what would happen if those meteorites crashed into our dome?
The scene certainly wouldn't be much better than this, meaning humanity needs another solution.
What do you think about a place similar to what we are seeing?
That is actually not a cave but a lava tube named Thurston in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park in the US. It looks really good for a shelter.
Underground, you don't need to worry about harsh natural conditions outside and also avoid attacks by celestial bodies. Coincidentally, the moon also has such lava tubes. Lava tubes would be a safe shelter from the harsh environment on the moon. On Earth, lava tubes form after volcanic eruptions. Then, underground lava flows and leaves traces of channels. If the upper part of a lava tube erodes or collapses, it creates skylights, which become entrances to the lava tube. Scientists believe that the moon's volcanoes were active about 3 billion years ago. And they predict that there are lava tubes existing within the moon. From December 2007 to June 2009, the Gaia spacecraft took high-resolution photos of the entire moon. Photos taken in May 2008 show a skylight in the Marius Hills volcanic region of the moon quite clearly. Imagine how amazing it would be if we could utilize lava tubes to create an entirely new underground habitat network. Discovering that the moon has attractive shelters like volcanic caves or lava tubes is very good. However, it's not yet a leap that helps humans colonize the moon in a short time. If we can actively create our own living and research environment independently, without relying on existing natural factors, it would be much better. That is entirely possible, and it might even come from something you wouldn't expect. What do you think if in the future humans could live and work on the moon under domes made from mushrooms? Bring whole mushrooms to the moon. 5. Instead of habitats made of metal and glass, NASA has explored technology that can grow structures from fungi. It helps create our future homes on the moon, and perhaps also paves the way for more sustainable living on Earth. The Microarchitecture project at NASA's Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley has found technology to grow lunar habitats with fungal mycelium. According to the research team's explanation, traditional dome-shaped habitat designs on the moon, as mentioned earlier, would consume huge amounts of energy and in contrast, we could harness fungal mycelium to grow these habitats when we get there. The project envisions a future where explorers only need to bring compact structures, and we can use fungal mycelium to develop this habitat. The project envisions a future where explorers only need to bring lightweight structures built from a material containing various dormant fungi. Then on the moon, they just need to unfold that structure and add water, and the fungi can grow around that framework into a complete living environment for humans. To help you visualize better, here we have a chart made from fungal mycelium. You need to understand that creating a livable environment for future astronauts isn't limited to just building a house. Astronauts will need to have all their needs met as on Earth and face other challenges living in the harsh lunar environment. The Microarchitecture project doesn't just design the shell. It needs to create its own ecosystem with various life forms besides humans. Just like astronauts, fungal mycelium is a life form that must eat and breathe. That's where something called cyanobacteria comes in. The type of cyanobacteria can use energy from the sun to convert water and carbon dioxide into oxygen and food for the fungi. In the best-case scenario, the habitat complex will be built with a 3-layer dome. The outermost layer is made of water ice, possibly sourced from the moon or Mars. That layer serves to protect from radiation and gradually melts down to the second layer, the cyanobacteria. This layer can take the melted water and perform photosynthesis using external light passing through the ice layer to produce oxygen for astronaut nutrients to the final fungal mycelium layer. The final fungal mycelium layer grows into a sturdy home. However, all of this is still theoretical. With our current technology, conducting manned missions to the moon is still very difficult, let alone building bases or habitats there. But I believe humans must achieve it at all costs. Because it's not just about resources and benefits. The moon will be the perfect stepping stone for humans to go further into the universe. Why is that? Why not other planets? What makes the moon a better choice for human settlement than Mars or Venus?
That's happening? The solar system is in motion, and there. The moon first solves this extremely important problem, as it's closest to us. The moon is only about 1 light second from Earth, meaning we can communicate with people living on the moon in real time.
It takes about 2.6 seconds for a signal to go to the moon and back to Earth, but clearly that's an acceptable time frame.
All other planets, including Mars, are at least several light minutes from Earth, not to mention that distance constantly changes with orbits. In space research, time errors are unacceptable. When there's a close enough distance, the travel problem is also much more optimized.
A spacecraft with an engine powerful enough to provide about 1 gram acceleration will get you to the moon within 4 hours.
That's a travel time even shorter than a typical flight on Earth.
Such a planet requires a lot of energy and extremely high-efficiency engines to achieve the desired speed. However, it's not impossible with modern spacecraft technology, and all of this is part of our many studies on hydrogen-powered or nuclear-powered spacecraft.
With a similar spacecraft, it would take humans 40 days to reach Mars, not 4 hours.
Therefore, the close distance has also made humans consider the moon as a more suitable choice for colonization than other planets.
So, is the moon perfect?
Certainly not. There are many conditions the moon lacks that other planets in the solar system possess. It lacks an atmosphere, an important protective layer that Earth, Venus, Titan, or Mars have. But aside from Earth, the other atmospheres are not helpful for human breathing anyway, so that's not necessarily a huge problem. In summary, the moon remains the most feasible choice for humanity's expansion and to recap a bit, we've talked about building bases, extracting water and resources, and the distance is already optimal.
That's something we Do you realize you're looking at Earth at night from outer space?
Our cities are brightly lit, bustling non-stop. Factories operate at full capacity to serve production activities, pushing civilization forward every second, every minute.
Human civilization is largely built on energy,
and currently, Earth is gradually falling into a new era energy crisis.
To have even a small society on the moon, we absolutely must have energy.
We cannot transport fossil fuels or even nuclear fuel to the moon. Even Earth itself urgently needs to find ways to avoid shortages of this precious energy. Without enough energy for the construction process, there will be no cities, urban areas, or research centers on the moon.
How will humans solve that problem? Simple. We will extract energy from the moon itself to colonize it. The moon has no oil, no coal, no natural gas. So what does it have? This gentleman will tell you. He is Harrison Smith, a former NASA astronaut.
And also a geologist from the Apollo program.
Smith believes he has a solution to the energy problem. That solution is named helium-3. Return to the moon. It is a viable fuel for fusion power plants, something humans are researching day and night.
Unlike Earth, protected by its magnetic field, the moon has been bombarded by solar wind with a large amount of helium-3 gas.
It is believed that this isotope could provide safer nuclear energy in fusion reactors, as it is not radioactive and does not produce dangerous waste. The current nuclear fission process used in nuclear power plants releases not only energy, but also radiation.
Said nuclear fuel must be reprocessed into uranium, plutonium, and other wastes. Therefore, obtaining helium-3 and mastering fusion reactions is the key to unlocking an endless source of clean energy, allowing humans to colonize not only the moon but also many other planets. It is estimated that about 25 tons of helium-3, equivalent to a fully loaded space shuttle cargo bay, could power the United States for 1 year at current energy consumption rates. This means helium-3 has a potential economic value of $3 billion per ton. This figure is more than enough for any empire to invade your lands. Additionally, there is another, more friendly alternative humanity can implement. We will harvest solar energy right on the moon. Solar radiation continuously illuminates the moon's surface with an energy source of 13 trillion watts, making this satellite a colossal energy source. And the question posed to scientists wanting to colonize the moon is how to utilize this precious energy source. The solar energy project for the moon has been a cherished idea for 40 years of this gentleman, physicist David Criswell from Houston. No longer just a theory, today many scientific units from various countries have joined this challenging game, recognizing its enormous potential.
Criswell's initial idea was to use solar panels hundreds of kilometers wide placed on the moon to capture clean energy from the sun.
Over time, with scientific progress, harnessing this massive solar energy source has become more feasible. Now, according to research from the Chinese Space Technology Laboratory, much potential is seen for the lunar surface. They indicate the surface contains materials usable for energy projects, such as silicon dioxide. The main component in lunar rock is soil, which can be used to make glass for solar thermal absorption systems.
Shimizu Construction Company, based on Criswell.
Encircling the lunar equator, 11,000 kilometers long along the moon's equatorial line. The belt will collect energy and transmit it to receiving stations on Earth in the form of laser beams or microwaves.
I even think we could combine both these energy sources to simultaneously solve two difficult energy problems. One is the energy shortage on Earth, and two is the energy source for construction and colonization of the moon. There are enough reasons and conditions for lunar colonization to happen. Humanity is truly very serious about this. The power struggle on the moon is more heated than ever. It's more heated than you might imagine.
After more than 50 long years of waiting, the Americans are still leading the space race. This time they are participating in a race with a program named Artemis. NASA succeeded in landing humans on the moon for the first time through the Apollo program, with a total of 6 Apollo spacecraft and 12 astronauts landing on the moon from 1969 to 1972.
However, the goal of the Artemis program is not only to return humans to the moon but also to sustain a long-term human presence on the moon. This world simultaneously enables U.S. private companies to
explore economic benefits on the moon and lay the groundwork for sending humans to Mars. In December 2017, President Donald Trump signed Space Policy Directive 1, initiating a campaign.
The Artemis program builds on ongoing spacecraft programs, including Orion, Lunar Gateway, commercial lunar payload services, and an additional lander yet to be developed. The Space Launch System rocket will serve as the primary launch vehicle for the Orion spacecraft.
In 2021, the first mission of the Artemis program took place. On October 20th of that year, the Orion spacecraft was stacked on the launch vehicle.
The Artemis 1 mission, as planned, initially lasted 6 weeks, with the goal of testing all rocket and spacecraft components to be used in future Artemis missions.
After reaching orbit and performing a translunar injection, the Artemis 1 mission will deploy 10 CubeSats in the Orion spacecraft. After completing its tasks, the Orion spacecraft will then return to Earth's atmosphere, protected by its heat shield, and splash down in the Pacific Ocean.
The initial launch date for Artemis 1 was planned for December 2016, but it was delayed at least 16 times due to technical issues with the SLS and Orion spacecraft.
Finally, after much effort, the Artemis 1 mission was also completed excellently.
After leaving the launch pad on November 16, 2022, the Orion spacecraft completed its historic journey and returned to Earth more than a month later as scheduled. The unmanned capsule safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Baja California, Mexico. It also passed at a distance of only 130 kilometers from the lunar surface.
The Orion spacecraft also reached the milestone of 430,000 kilometers from Earth. This is the farthest distance any spacecraft designed to carry humans has traveled.
Now that Orion has returned to Earth, NASA will begin collecting data from sensor-equipped mannequins on board so it can be ready for future human-involved missions. NASA's second Artemis mission is scheduled for 2024, with the goal of sending a crew to orbit the Moon.
U.S. aerospace officials are incubating plans to ultimately return humans to the lunar surface in the Artemis 3 mission.
This time it will not be a small step for mankind, but truly a firm step of the conqueror.
Meanwhile, in another development, an extremely formidable opponent is gradually catching up to the Americans in the race for power to the Moon. If not truly highly focused, the US could very well be overtaken and defeated by this contender. That challenger could turn the Moon into a colony before the Americans even realize it.
Now the Soviet Union is no more. This time the Americans' opponent is China. China is making strong strides to prove that the goal of sending humans to the Moon before 2030 is no joke. 3 issues that researchers believe China needs to solve if it wants to complete its lunar mission include:
first, developing a heavy-lift launch vehicle capable of sending humans to the Moon. This is a prerequisite and mandatory factor because, clearly, a younger country in the aerospace industry still has unavoidable technical limitations.
Second, ensuring the survival, safety, and working conditions of those who will go to the Moon.
This issue has been clearly analyzed by us in the previous section. We believe China has sufficient human and material resources to solve.
And third, building more ground facilities to ensure success in tests.
It can be seen that, unlike the Americans, China has left. From the very first program, they were not concerned with setting foot on the Moon but wanted to colonize it immediately. The second condition is almost a declaration that there will be solid bases on the Moon to maintain China's long-term presence. A perfect step in the process of colonizing this celestial object. How China has been and is implementing those conditions. To date, China has initiated the development and production of launch rockets, crewed spacecraft, landing modules, spacesuits, and a new generation of lunar rovers. Alongside efforts to advance the mission of sending humans to the Moon, China has deployed a series of exploration plans to assist in conquering the Moon as quickly as possible. The mission of the Chang'e 6 lunar probe is expected to be carried out in 2020. Its main task is to collect samples from the far side of the Moon and bring these samples back to Earth. This will also be the first time samples are collected from the far side of the Moon. Meanwhile, the Chang'e 7 spacecraft is planned to launch around 2026 to go to the south pole of the Moon, searching for evidence of water. It will be the first spacecraft to land at the south pole of the Moon, and is part of the 4th phase of China's lunar exploration mission. Chang'e-8 is expected to launch in 2028, with the main task of prospecting resources and conducting resource reuse experiments to ensure large-scale scientific research on the Moon in the future. The Luna 7 and Luna 8 will together form a basic model of the International Lunar Research Station.
China plans to complete this project before 2030 to realize the dream of landing Chinese people on the Moon. Once humans return to the Moon, everything will no longer be as simple as before.
I believe humanity will colonize the Moon and jointly share and exploit its resources.
Or will there be another war over resources?
The Moon no longer represents the interests of a single nation alone, but is becoming a representative of their common interests. Hopefully, humans will succeed soon so that the miraculous development of our species is not delayed.
Thank you for watching and supporting. Our video will end here. Due to limited time,
goodbye and see you in the next videos.
Wishing everyone a very good day.
Subscribe to the D and Ego channel so you don't miss exciting videos.